Alright, so this video is a word of caution to anybody who would use the forbidden technique of putting self-tapping screws into their oil seal in order to get it out. I still think it is possible to do this method. For this seal, because it is so narrow, I would use a smaller diameter. Well, to be honest, I don't know if you can do it with something that's this small width, because what ended up happening was, yes, the screws can get through there, but then when I tried to pull them back out, just because there wasn't much material for it to grip onto, it would just pull straight out. And ultimately what I ended up doing was I mean the holes that I made with the screws were big enough that I could get this tool in there. This is not specifically meant to get out oil seals. And there's this thing that looks like kind of a crescent on the end of a bar. So it looks like this, and so you're using leverage to get the stuff out like that. But even then, I don't know that that would have worked with this thing. It might have, you know, but I still think it kind of poses its own dangers too. But see, the thing is, like, these were thick enough that it would just damage the thing. They pull straight out because there just wasn't enough material for it to grip onto. The reason why I'm giving a word of caution, though, is not because it destroyed the seal. I don't care if it destroys the seal. The reason why is because it can mar your front case if you screw in too far. It can also mar your crankshaft axle. So that's what I've done here, and I screwed it up because I did it so close to the crankshaft axle, you know, because I didn't know what it looked like underneath there. I thought it was like an inner tube running the circumference of this, like an inner cylinder, so that this thing, like, see that gap? I thought there was something that was in that slot, so I was afraid that I was hitting that. Well, that fear at least was unfounded. It's got a rigid thing on the outside. It's got a steel, like, it's rigid on the outside, and that's probably steel. Like, it doesn't feel like aluminum. Maybe it is. It's soft enough that I was able to screw into it with these zinc screws, and it's got a horizontal plate, you know, on this part. So that's a metal part too. And then it's also got this spring, but that wasn't really the issue. So I didn't really know what was going on. I've seen somebody that did a video about Subaru oil seals, but I guess maybe this is something that applies to more than just this car. So what I did after I marred the front case was I took a piece of sheet aluminum and just bent it a little bit and then slid it where I'd marred the front case in between there and tried to clear out as much debris as I could. I'm still afraid that this is going to start scraping as soon as I turn on the car. But I imagine that'll just, you know, it'll quiet down after a while, because it'll have broken loose all the jagged pieces, or it'll have cut a groove into the axle, and then the thing can just be cutting into the axle, and then it'll just have a groove there. I don't feel like replacing the front case, and I think it'll turn okay. At least I'm hoping it will be. So part 2 of the word of caution, or cautionary tale, is that this is a piece that nobody told me about even existing. This is a crankshaft key, and the only reason I know it's called that is because I looked on Hyundai Parts Deal, which is a retailer of parts that they get from Hyundai dealers, and they have this listed in the crankshaft components. And I found out about this after the fact because it fell out of there after I took the oil seal off. But you'll notice, look at this, it's got a chip out of it. And that's probably for me drilling into it. See, what I did was I put the screw at the bottommost point, because I'm like, that's where my drill fits in, you know, because I was drilling a pilot hole for the self-tapping seals. And probably what ended up happening was I drilled right into that thing. And I think this piece just floats. So basically what it was doing was it was at the bottom of this cylinder here. And so that's, of course, where it would have hit. And I didn't even know what this was. Nobody talks about it when they're talking about taking off your oil seals, like, or installing them. It's not even in the shop manual. Like, it's not listed as a part. It's not listed as something that you can replace. I looked in the section about, different crankshaft components. It's not listed anywhere about the timing belt. It's like they've got these diagrams, and it's just that part isn't even in those. I'm sure it does serve some kind of a purpose, but I've never even heard about it up until now. It's just like, oh yeah, everybody and their mom has heard about the crankshaft key. Yeah, no, I haven't. This is the first time I've ever heard about it, and it's just springing out of nowhere, and it's damaged now. I'm not going to try replacing it. I'm going to just put everything back together, and if it makes like a harsh squealing noise, then I'll know that I probably have to replace the front case and the crankshaft key. But I'm not going to do that just yet. I'm going to wait and see if it actually causes a problem first. So abandon all hope, ye who enter here, who would dare to replace their oil seal when it doesn't immediately need it. I think if I do this again, and I am going to have to do it again, because you know what? There's another oil seal behind this thingy, and I'm going to do it just because I can. But this time what I'm going to do is not use self-tapping screws. Instead, what I'm going to do is use my punch here, punch a hole in it, and then use, not this thing because the tip is bent, but maybe I will use this thing. And basically what I was doing earlier, and this helped to get it off, was I was using this thing just as a weight, because a slide hammer, what it does is it bumps your tool, so it's giving you some impact force to get the thing off. But maybe I won't be using this just because it's so heavy and the diameter is pretty small, or is pretty big. I don't want to use this thing either because I don't want to damage that. This thing I think has a smaller diameter, so I'll probably use this. It's just been a lot. Yeah. I don't offer much instruction in my things. It's mostly just ride along while I try to figure things out, but at least I can say use extra caution when you're doing this. Maybe use see, the thing is, like, people were also saying use these seal puller tools that have little forks, and what it does is it hooks on the inside of the thing, because the inside is the flexible part. This part is flexible, the outside diameter is not. It's rigid. So you put those hooks on the inside and you pry it off like that. The problem was that people were saying that, at least the ones on Amazon, the lower end ones that are like $20 or $30, the hooks weren't rigid enough. They were made from soft metal. So they were like, who knows, aluminum or something. So they would just bend, and they would just not stick. You could rebend them so that they would, be in a 90-degree angle again. You put it in, and it would just bend again. So those weren't reliable. So the one guy, I think, who had this right was a genius guy who took an angle grinder, took a regular screwdriver, cut off the end of the screwdriver. I mean, this guy was like meticulous the way he was doing it. And what he did was, I might post a link in it, but I think you're just going to have to search for it yourself. He made a special tool, like for himself, and really for anybody watching, which is very generous of him. He cut a gap in between the end of the screwdriver, so imagine something like this, and he's making it so it's a shape roughly like this. See, like how the metal is, like follow the outline of my finger here. So it was a 90-degree thing, and then he rounded it off with a sand, like a tabletop or a bench grinder, and sanded it and made it all pretty so it didn't have any burrs or anything on it, and nothing that could damage your crankshaft or anything. And I'm sure you could do something like that with you know, simpler tools like a, you know, just like a hacksaw and, you know, some you know, some kind of sanding material like a file or something. It's just, you know, it takes some time to get that tool together, but I think that's the perfect way of doing this just because, and he took like the head from a drill, like that has a detachable head, and he used that as like a slide hammer. So I think that was the smartest guy out of anything, and he got hardly any use for it. So yeah, listen to that genius. Probably not me though. At least with maybe heed my warnings about the self-tapping screw technique. All right, video's over. Not coming from back there, it's just coming from that one wheel. Squeak has been remedied.